Have you ever wondered what happens inside you when you decide to walk away from someone? I'm not just talking about the physical moment when you take distance, but that profound act of freeing yourself from what no longer resonates with you, from what has somehow been holding you back. Carl Jung, a visionary of the human mind, left us teachings that shed light on this process and transform it into something bigger, something deeply meaningful. Walking away isn't just saying goodbye, it's much more than that. It's an act of courage, a declaration to the universe that you're ready to prioritize your peace, your authenticity, and your true self. But that step doesn't come without challenges. Deep within your unconscious, a transformation begins to take shape. It's as if something inside you wakes up and says, it's time. And though that decision can feel liberating, it also brings doubts, fears, and sometimes a fleeting loneliness that feels hard to bear. Carl Jung taught us that these emotions aren't mere coincidences. They're the reflection of a much larger process, a dialogue between who you think you are and who you really are. When you decide to walk away, you're breaking a pattern, a connection that might have been feeding parts of you you'd rather not face. But here's the real power of this choice. When you step away from what drains you, you're not just gaining space. You're creating the conditions for something far better to flourish in your life. Have you noticed how, after distancing yourself from certain people, you start to feel a peace you didn't even know you needed? It's as if letting go of that relationship also releases a burden you didn't realize you were carrying. But what you might not know is that this act also deeply affects those left behind. Your departure, though it may seem simple, can be an earthquake in their inner world. Carl Jung would call it a moment of confrontation, a mirror reflecting truths we often prefer to ignore. That's the magic and the challenge of these decisions. When you walk away, you're not just choosing for yourself. You're leaving a mark on others, a call, conscious or not, for them to look inward too. And here's the secret. Not everyone will be ready to face it. Some will try to hold you back, manipulate you, make you feel guilty. But remember, that's not about you. It's about their own shadows, their own fears of losing control or confronting what your leaving represents. The hardest part of walking away isn't the distance itself. It's the void that remains. That space once filled with conversations, shared energy, habits that, though toxic, felt familiar. Jung said this void isn't something to fear. On the contrary, it's a sacred place, a blank canvas where we can rebuild, rediscover, and, most importantly, reconnect with our truest essence. The real challenge lies in resisting the urge to fill that void right away. Let's be honest. It's easier to seek a new relationship, a new circle, or any distraction than to face yourself. But this is where transformation happens. Jung teaches us that by facing that void, we discover who we truly are. It's uncomfortable, yes, but also deeply liberating. When you take that step and walk away, you're not just creating physical distance. What's really happening is you're drawing a line between what you deserve and what you've allowed until now. It's a revolutionary act for your soul, a clear message to your unconscious that says, my needs matter, my peace matters, my truth matters. But this message isn't just heard by you. Others feel it too, especially those you're leaving behind. They won't always understand. In fact, often their reaction will be to cling to you, not because they need you, but because your leaving confronts them with something they'd rather not see. Carl Jung called this projection. Everything we refuse to accept about ourselves, we project onto others. So when you choose to let go, your decision becomes a mirror, reflecting their insecurities, fears, and voids. It's not you hurting them. It's their own inner struggle becoming clearer in your absence. This is where inner work becomes crucial. While they grapple with their projections, you face yours too. It's easy to fall into guilt or fear that you've made the wrong choice. But Jung would remind us this is a moment for introspection, to observe your own patterns and uncover what parts of you have been silenced, repressed, or even sacrificed in those relationships. Often, what we fear most isn't walking away. It's what we discover about ourselves when we do. Because the truth is, we don't always surround ourselves with the best people for our well-being. Sometimes we attract what we think we deserve at that moment, what resonates with our deepest wounds. And when you decide to walk away, you're breaking not just a bond with someone else, but also with those wounds that have shaped your choices until now. Have you ever felt that mix of relief and uncertainty after letting go of a relationship? That's your psyche adapting, reorganizing, finding a new balance. According to Jung, this process is like a symbolic death. You let a part of you trapped in old patterns die to make way for a rebirth. And though it's painful, it's also deeply transformative. In the void that remains, you start to notice something magical. New ideas, new interests, and most importantly, new people begin to enter your life. People who don't demand you change, who don't try to mold you, but accept you as you are. Those connections that seem to come out of nowhere aren't coincidences. Jung would call them synchronicities, signs you're aligned with your essence, on the right path. But here's the key. For these synchronicities to happen, you need to let go completely. Not just physically, but emotionally and energetically too. Stop looking back. Stop trying to justify your decision or seek external validation. Because the truth is, you don't need others to understand your choice. It's enough that you do, that you recognize you're choosing your well-being. This alignment doesn't just attract the right people, it filters out everything that's not in harmony with you. It's as if life itself starts working in your favor. Relationships that once seemed impossible to leave behind begin to fade, not with conflict, but with a peace that once felt unattainable. That's when you realize the greatest gift you can give yourself is permission to be who you really are. But how do you know if you're living from your truth? Jung would say an authentic life isn't measured by how many people accept or approve of you, but by how you feel about yourself at the end of the day. If you're surrounded by people who constantly make you feel you need to change, that you're not enough, or that you must hide parts of yourself to fit in, that's a clear sign something's out of alignment. The real challenge is learning to let go with love, not resentment. Because letting go doesn't mean rejecting or despising others. It means giving thanks for what was, recognizing what you learned, and understanding that sometimes the greatest act of love is to release. Release others from your expectations, and release yourself from the weight of relationships that no longer nourish you. In this process, it's normal for doubts to arise. We've been taught that walking away can be selfish or uncaring, but Carl Jung had a different view. For him, caring for your soul, your psyche, isn't just a right, it's a responsibility. If you're not at peace with yourself, how can you expect to give your best to others? If your energy is drained, if your light dims from trying to hold on to relationships that don't nurture you, then you're not living, you're just surviving. There's incredible power in recognizing your own limits. Jung described it as an act of integration, not building walls but creating bridges where chaos once reigned. It's understanding that saying no isn't rejection, it's affirmation. You affirm who you are, what you value, and what you need to thrive. And when you do, something beautiful happens. The people who truly matter, those meant to walk with you, understand. They don't try to change or hold you back. They support you, celebrate you, and grow with you. Of course, not everyone will be ready to accept your transformation. Some will question your choices, try to make you doubt yourself. But here's where true strength lies, in not letting external opinions dictate your path. Jung taught us that the only approval that matters comes from your own heart. Because at the end of the day, you're the one living with the consequences of your choices, not them. As you keep moving forward, you start to notice life feels lighter. You no longer feel the need to explain your decisions or justify your choices. You simply live, trusting the path you're building is right for you. This level of confidence doesn't come overnight. It's the result of deep inner work, facing your shadows, listening to your intuition, and consciously choosing what lifts your soul. The true gift of this process isn't just the peace you find, it's the freedom. A freedom that goes beyond external circumstances. It's the freedom to be yourself, to live without fear, to embrace every part of you, even those you once saw as imperfect or unworthy. Because when you integrate all parts of your being, you realize you don't need to be perfect to be whole. You're enough, just as you are. This transformation doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how you relate to the world. When you choose to let go of what doesn't resonate, you open space for new things, healthier relationships, unexpected opportunities, and, above all, a deeper sense of purpose. Carl Jung would say you're letting your unconscious work in your favor, syncing your life with possibilities that were always there but you couldn't see because you were trapped in dynamics that held you back. Have you noticed how, when you let go of something that seemed essential, things start falling into place in ways you never imagined? It's as if the universe responds to your choice to release, sending you signs, people, and experiences that validate your new path. This isn't coincidence. Jung called it synchronicity, that mysterious connection between external events and your inner world. It's proof that when you align with your essence, everything around you starts to align too. But this doesn't mean the path is always easy. There will be days of nostalgia, doubt, even fear that you made the wrong choice. But those feelings aren't signs to turn back. They're part of the rebuilding process. It's like remodeling a house. You have to tear down walls, face the dust and chaos, before you can create a new beautiful space. Jung would remind us this chaos isn't to be feared. It's fertile ground where true transformation can bloom. When you decide to prioritize something deeper, your dreams, those you might have buried, resurface. Maybe you've always wanted to pursue something you're passionate about, but others' expectations led you down a different path. Or maybe you felt you weren't good enough to chase your goals. This is the moment those limiting beliefs start to crumble. Because by letting go of what's not yours, you're also releasing the fears and doubts others projected onto you. Something fascinating Jung taught is that the unconscious doesn't just hold our shadows and fears, it holds our greatest potential too. Within you are talents, ideas, and abilities you haven't explored, not because they don't exist, but because you hadn't made space for them to emerge. When you live from authenticity, those parts of you start to show up in ways you never imagined. It's as if letting go of the old lights up everything that was hidden. This process also teaches you something valuable. You don't need to do it all alone. Jung deeply believed in human connection and how relationships can be a source of support and growth. But these connections must be genuine, based on mutual respect and acceptance of who you truly are. When you surround yourself with people who celebrate your authenticity instead of trying to change you, you discover the real power of human relationships. It's important to remember this journey isn't about cutting everyone out of your life. It's about discernment, consciously choosing who aligns with you and who doesn't. The relationships worth keeping are those where you can be yourself without fear, without pretense, without feeling you have to prove your worth. Jung said authentic relationships don't just nourish our soul, they push us to grow, expand, and become the best version of ourselves. As you move forward, you'll realize something powerful. The peace you sought outside was always within you. You don't need others to complete you because you're already whole. You don't need external validation because your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. This is the greatest gift you can give yourself, the freedom to be you, without permission, without apologies, without fear. Keeping this authenticity day to day can feel challenging, especially when the world around you operates on superficiality, expectations, and conformity. But here's the key. Living from authenticity doesn't mean being perfect or having all the answers. It means choosing each day to align with who you are, even amid uncertainty and external pressures. Jung taught us that the greatest enemy of our authenticity isn't others. It's our own shadows, those parts we fear facing, that we've repressed because they don't fit the image we want to project. But here's the real power. When you start integrating those shadows, they no longer control you. Instead of sabotaging you, they become a source of wisdom and strength. A clear example is how we react to others' judgment. When you live from authenticity, some people won't understand or may even criticize you. But those criticisms only affect you if they touch something inside you haven't accepted. If you've made peace with your shadows, those words lose their power, not because you're numb, but because you recognize what others say about you has more to do with them than with you. The next step on this path is learning to set boundaries. This doesn't mean closing your heart or distancing everyone. It means being clear about what you allow in your life. Carl Jung said our relationships mirror our relationship with ourselves. If others treat you with disdain or make you feel less, it's a sign there are still parts of you needing love and acceptance. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of respect for yourself and others. Imagine your energy as a garden. Every relationship, every interaction is a seed you plant. Some seeds bloom and bring beauty and joy to your life, while others can turn into weeds, draining your energy and stealing space to grow. Learning to tend your inner garden is essential to maintaining authenticity. This means surrounding yourself with people who nourish your soul, who celebrate your growth, and who are willing to walk beside you, not behind or ahead, but at your side. Another crucial aspect is listening to your intuition. In our society, this inner power is often underestimated, but Jung saw it as one of the most valuable tools for navigating life. Your intuition is that quiet voice guiding you toward what's true for you. Sometimes it's a sense of peace, other times a slight unease warning you when something's off. Listening to it takes practice and trust, but the more you do, the stronger it gets. Authenticity also connects you to your purpose. Jung believed we all have a unique calling, something only we can bring to the world. But to find it, you need to free yourself from distractions, others' expectations, and limiting beliefs you've gathered over time. As you do, you'll notice a pattern in what excites you, the moments that make you feel alive, the ideas you can't ignore. That's the universe speaking, showing you your path. As you progress, you'll notice a subtle but profound shift in how you experience life. Small things that once went unnoticed take on greater meaning. A conversation with a friend, a quiet moment in nature, even an unexpected challenge become opportunities to grow, learn, and connect with yourself and others. It's as if everything in your life gains new purpose. This transformation has a bigger impact than you might imagine. When you choose to live from authenticity, you inspire others to do the same. You don't need to give speeches or convince anyone. Your example is enough. People around you will notice the change, your clarity, your peace, your renewed energy. And though not everyone will be ready to follow, some will. You'll be a light in their lives, proof that living with purpose and fulfillment is possible. When you live from authenticity, your relationships shift. You no longer seek others' approval to validate who you are. Instead, you become someone who inspires respect and admiration. Not because you chase it, but because your energy reflects confidence, clarity, and peace. Carl Jung would say this happens because you've integrated what he called the self, that essential core connecting your conscious and unconscious in harmony. As this integration deepens, you start seeing the world with new eyes. Experiences that once upset you lose their grip. Instead of feeling trapped in external conflicts, you seek the inner lessons each situation brings. It's a subtle but transformative shift. You stop reacting to life and start responding from a place of calm and wisdom. This new perspective doesn't mean life becomes perfect or challenges vanish. In fact, sometimes they intensify because living your truth inevitably leads you to question systems, relationships, and structures you once took for granted. Jung taught us this process is like pruning. It cuts away what no longer serves to make way for something more authentic and aligned with you. What's fascinating is how people around you react to this transformation. Some will be drawn to your renewed energy, wanting to understand how you found that peace you now radiate. Others might feel uneasy because your authenticity confronts them with neglected parts of their own lives. This isn't something to take personally. It's a sign your process is making a deep impact, even beyond what you can see. This is where staying focused becomes crucial. External noise can be tempting. People trying to convince you to change. Go back. Rethink your choices. But here's where your connection to your intuition, that inner compass that never fails, becomes your greatest ally. Jung said intuition isn't just instinct. It's your unconscious guiding you toward what aligns with your true purpose. As you move forward, you might notice something curious. Doors that once seemed closed start to open. New opportunities, connections, and experiences flow to you with an ease that once felt impossible. This isn't magic or coincidence. It's the result of living in alignment with yourself. When you stop fighting what doesn't resonate and act from authenticity, you create an energy field that attracts what you need to thrive. It's important to remember this journey isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong, unstoppable. Others, doubts will creep in. But even then, remember that simply choosing yourself is an act of courage. You don't need all the answers today. All you need is the willingness to keep walking, exploring, and trusting you're exactly where you're meant to be. Over time, you'll realize this transformation hasn't just changed your life. It's changed those around you too. Your relationships start reflecting your energy's quality. Those who stay do so because they're aligned with you, not because they need something from you. And those who drift away aren't a loss, but a liberation. A reminder that not everything or everyone is meant to stay forever. As this journey toward authenticity progresses, you realize something essential. What you once saw as chaos, you now see as part of the process needed for your growth. The relationships you let go of, the situations you left behind, the challenges you faced, they weren't obstacles, but lessons preparing you to be who you are now. Carl Jung said life isn't about avoiding suffering, but finding meaning in every experience, even the hardest ones. And that's exactly what you're doing by choosing your truth. This path doesn't just transform your relationship with yourself, it transforms your relationship with the world around you. When you live from authenticity, you become a beacon, an inspiration to others. You might not notice at first, but people are watching your evolution. People who need that reminder that it's possible for them too. Your courage in choosing yourself shows them there's another way, one where peace and purpose aren't distant dreams, but achievable realities. And here's where your impact grows. Every decision you make, every step toward authenticity, creates a ripple effect. It will inspire others to reflect, question, and maybe make their own transformative choices. That's the beauty of this journey. It doesn't just change your life. It touches the lives of those around you in deep, meaningful ways. Now I want to invite you to take the next step. If this message resonated with you, if something inside stirred as you heard these words, don't ignore it. This could be the start of a change that transforms your life. But you don't have to do it alone. Share this video with someone you feel needs to hear it, someone searching for answers or wrestling with doubts like yours. Never underestimate the power of a word, an idea, or a message shared at the right moment. It might be just what that person needs to shift their path. Let me know what part of this message touched you most, what reflection stayed with you, what decision you're ready to make. Leave your comment below. I want to read your story, your thoughts, your dreams. Your words don't just inspire me to keep creating content like this. They help this message reach more people. Our community's strength keeps this conversation alive, amplifying this message and carrying it to those who need it most. If you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next videos. Every interaction, comment, and subscription isn't just support for the channel. It's a way to spread this message and build a community where knowledge and authenticity are at the core. Together, we can create a space where more people discover their true potential and find the tools to live aligned with their truth. Change starts with you, but it doesn't end there. Every small act, every decision has the power to transform not just your life, but the world around you. Thank you for being here, for listening, and above all, for taking the first step toward the life you've always deserved. See you in the next video. Be authentic, be brave, and never stop seeking your truth.